The topic is to be your best. And this is the third installment. Allow me to recap some principles we've shared, some big ideas we've considered before now. I told you that success and everything that comes with it is a reward for problems solved. Success and everything that comes with it is a reward for problems solved. And so we said, the quality of your reward is determined by the quality of your contribution. The quality of your reward is determined by the quality of your contribution. Another big idea we have looked at is the fact that you are a seed. You are a creature of immense potential. Okay, you are a seed, a creature of immense potential, which means that you can improve the quality of your contribution. Okay, a better version of you will deliver better contribution, which will lead to more success. Let me say that again. A better version of you will deliver greater or better contribution, which will lead to more success. So we said we're looking at how to become a go-to player, how to become that person that your organization can depend on. And we're looking at some fundamental principles. I said, number one, to become a go-to player, okay, to be your best, you've got to develop a winning attitude. And we looked at that about 3 weeks or 4 weeks ago now. I said, number two, to become a go-to player or to become your best or to be your best, you've got to become an asset and not a liability. I told you that an asset is a team member who contributes significantly to the team's bottom line. A liability costs more than he contributes. So you can ask yourself, am I an asset or a liability? An asset contributes significantly to the bottom line of the team. A liability costs more than he contributes. Now, to remain successful, organizations must multiply their assets and reduce their liabilities. Okay, I would encourage you, if you missed that session, the video is available on my YouTube channel. You can go and watch it so that you catch up with that teaching on becoming an asset and not a liability. Now, our focus tonight, this is the third suggestion I am making. The third suggestion I'm making is what? Be a learner, not an expert. Be a learner, not an expert. Now listen, these two words, learner, expert, they have their generic meanings, but for the purpose of our discussion tonight, I'm going to define what I mean by learner and what I mean by expert so that you can understand what I am saying. Be a learner, not an expert. This is what I've decided to do. I'm going to share with you 7 major differences between a learner and an expert. 7 major differences between a learner and an expert. Now listen to this. Number 1, a learner is willing to learn more. An expert considers himself a master already. So these are adjustments you need to make in your mind so that you can position yourself more as a learner than an expert. Okay? A learner is willing to learn more, but an expert considers himself a master already. Listen to number 2. A learner is curious and open-minded, but an expert is confident but closed-minded. A learner is curious and open-minded, but an expert is confident but closed-minded. Quality number 3. A learner continues learning and therefore he continues growing. An expert stops learning and therefore becomes stagnant. Okay? An expert stops learning and therefore becomes stagnant. Number 4. A learner embraces failure as learning. A learner embraces failure as learning. An expert dreads failure. You see, as far as the learner is concerned, it's an experiment. As far as the expert is concerned, It's a dissertation. I can't afford to fail. So learners deal better with failure because it's an experiment. It's a learning process as far as the learner is concerned. But for the person who considers himself an expert, he cannot afford to make mistakes. So he dreads failure. Principle number 5. A learner solves problems by leveraging new information. A learner solves problem by leveraging new information. An expert solves problems by recycling old information. What are we talking about? We're looking at 7 major differences between a learner and an expert. And I'm saying, if you want to be a go-to player, if you want to continue to evolve, continue to grow, continue to become a better version of yourself, you have to adopt the mindset of a learner and not the mindset of an expert. We're at quality number 6. Okay, we're looking at 7 major differences between a learner and an expert. Number 6, a learner is collaborative. A learner is collaborative. An expert is territorial. Okay, a learner is collaborative. Is always willing to share ideas. Is always willing to cooperate, okay, with other people to produce excellent results. Is always willing to share the spotlight and share the credit. But an expert is territorial. It's my project, it's my idea, it's my spotlight, it's my credit. Now, number 7 is very crucial. A learner remains relevant, but an expert is eventually left behind. After some time, the expert belongs in history. The learner remains relevant. Now, listen to this. Value is not the same thing as relevance. Everybody is valuable. But you need to understand something. Value is based on history and potential, whilst relevance is based on present contribution to the objectives of the organization. Let me say that again. Value is based on history and potential. Okay, in other words, what you did in the past is what lets us know how valuable you are to us. Because of what you did in the past, we believe you will be able to do some things in the future. Okay, this is important. Because of what you did in the past, we believe, okay, you are able to do some things in the future. So it is based on past and future. That's value. Relevance is what you are able to contribute to what we are trying to achieve presently. Okay, so let me use an illustration. And by the way, let me give you a heads up. This evening, I'm going to be drawing a lot of illustrations from sports. So let me mention a player. For example, Vincent Kompany. If you know me very well, you know I'm a passionate Manchester City fan. So I'm going to draw a lot of illustrations from Man City and perhaps Arsenal this evening. Good. So Vincent Kompany spent about 10 years as a defender at Manchester City. He was a valuable player. Currently, Vincent Kompany is the coach of Burnley Football Club. If he continues to develop himself as a coach, because of the history he has with Manchester City, he is valuable to us in the sense that we cannot tell the story of the club without him, and he has a potential of returning into the club in the future to be a coach. That's value. Relevance is Pep Guardiola, currently the coach of the team who has led the team to about 4 trophies, if I'm correct now, in 5 seasons. Okay, because of his competence, he is relevant. And this is what I'm saying to you. You have to go beyond being valuable. You have to be relevant. Value is based on history and potential. Relevance is based on present contribution to the objectives of the organization. Now listen to this. To maintain relevance, you must master transitions. Now this is important. To maintain relevance, you must master transitions. Your self-awareness must be very, very sharp. Okay? Your self-awareness must be very, very sharp. You must know when you have exhausted your relevance in a role and you must know what role to move on to next. This is important to maintain relevance. If you just don't want to be valuable, you want to be relevant, you must be sensitive. Your self-awareness must be very sharp. You must know when you have exhausted your role, your relevance, at a particular role, and then you've got to know what to transition to next. This is what it means. While you are relevant, your mind cannot afford to be focused on just what you are doing in the present. You know that no matter what it is that you are doing, everything that has a beginning has an end. Okay, somebody, very intelligent man said that, good leaders, or great leaders focus on what happens next, but extraordinary leaders focus on what happens after what happens next. In other words, if you are currently the manager of an organization, I'm not going to be in this role forever. Younger people are coming, stronger people are coming. There will be people who know how to do this thing that I am doing more than I am doing. I'm going to exit at some point. I'm going to retire at some point. I'm going to have to move on at some point. What am I moving on to? And then you've got to get yourself ready. And then you have to now be sensitive to that moment where you make the switch. You make the transition. Listen, if you miss your transition, you will lose relevance. If you miss your transition, you will lose relevance. What is relevance? Your ability to contribute to the objective of the organization in the present. If you miss your transition, you will lose relevance. Okay, this is important. Now, let me give an example from football. Sportsmen, as they age, they lose relevance. So they've got to know when to pivot, when to transition, from being a player to either being a coach or being an entrepreneur. You can't afford to continue to play the same role and to sit on that same spot without developing yourself and preparing yourself for your next role. Let me give you a hint at this point. How do I know it's time to transition? The moment there's anybody around you that can do what you are doing up to 70% of your capacity, it's time to move on. Okay? The moment there's somebody around that can do what you are doing up to 70% of your capacity, it is time to move on. You've got to remember, you did not start at this current level. And what am I saying? Let's assume right now you are a level 7 in terms of competence and capacity. If you are a level 7, you did not start at level 7. You grew to level 7. So the moment there's somebody at level 4, it's time for you to move to level 8 or level 9. So that the person at level 4 can also begin to make his own mistakes, try and, grow. The person will respect you. The person will learn from you. If you are the person that paves the way for the level 4 guy, the person looks up to you as a mentor. So while you are learning from somebody above you, there are people below you that you have made room for. But if the level 4 guy becomes level 5, you are still at level 7. It becomes level 6, you are still at level 7. See, when he gets to level 6, he probably can do what you are doing maybe at 65% of your capacity. Maybe because he's younger, because he's fresher, he's more passionate, it will begin to look better than you, even though he's a level 65. And what it means to everybody is while this guy was growing, you were not growing. And perhaps it's not that you are not growing, you missed your transition. Sometimes we enjoy what we are doing so much. You've got to learn to let it go. It's important. You've got to learn to know when to shift, because if you miss your transition, you will lose your relevance. So I'm going to take some beautiful examples this evening. I'm going to mention some names. Of course, like I said, quite a number of them will have something to do with either Manchester City or Arsenal. The first person is Pep Guardiola. Pep Guardiola was, in his time, one of the best midfielders that ever played football. He played well for Barcelona. He played well for Spain. But he got to a point where he had to make a shift from being a player to becoming a coach. The same thing can be said of Mikel Arteta. He knew the transition. You get to a point where you stop being a player and then you become a coach. The same thing can be said of Vincent Kompany, who transited from being a very good defender, one of the very best in the game, now to becoming a coach. of Burnley Football Club. And since he took over the club, he has taken them now to the top of the championship table. That's what happens when a person knows when to switch, when to transit. But this is what I found out. You don't start preparing for your next level when it's time to transit. You've got to see it afar off. You've got to be preparing yourself for it. I want you to apply these principles to yourself. Where are you now? Where are you going next? Are you prepared for it? As a matter of fact, I'm going to mention the names of some football players who are currently playing football, but they have already transitioned into entrepreneurship. Okay, the following players I'm going to mention, they actually own football clubs already. Their own football clubs already, even though they are still playing football for their parent club. People like Jamie Vardy, people like Wilfred Zaha, okay? Player like Hector Bellerin, Gerard Piqué, Cesar Azpilicueta, Thomas Partey. These are all players who are currently owners or part owners of existing football clubs. They are still playing football and earning money as footballers, but they have transitioned into entrepreneurship. Of course, you don't want to talk about David Beckham. David Beckham transitioned so many years ago. As at today, DB Ventures, his organization, is worth $450 million. Even though he's not playing football anymore, now he is a businessman. And that's what I'm advocating this evening. Listen, when you become that kind of person that is always moving, that is always transitioning at the right time, you will remain valuable to your stakeholders. That's my message to us this evening. You remain valuable to your stakeholders. And of course, finally, allow me to talk about Michael Jordan. Okay. Some people have said Michael Jordan is the greatest basketball player of all time. But that's not the only thing. He transitioned at the right time. Okay. As we speak today, Michael Jordan owns a minimum of about 9 different businesses. And according to Forbes, he is worth $2 billion as at today. $2 billion, not by playing basketball, but by transitioning from basketball to business. Let me ask you that question again. What are you doing right now? What are you going to transition into? Are you ready? Even in the organization where you work, what is the role you are playing currently? What is the next role you are transitioning to? Are you ready? I read, a human resource magazine so many years ago, and the author said something, beautiful article I read, and the author said, if you want to be promoted quickly, make sure that you dress and you deliver results 4 levels above your current level. The author said, people can tell, okay, what you are going to do in the future. They can only judge by what you place in front of them right now. So the reason why you are going to be promoted very fast to the next level is because when they look at you, when they engage with you, when they talk with you, when they look at you, you look like and you perform at that at that next level. So you are going to be shifted to that level. So if you're an assistant head of department, stop behaving like an assistant head of department. Behave like the head of department, and quickly you will be moved to that level. What am I saying? If you miss your transition, you will lose relevance. Value is based on what you did in the past. And because of what you did in the past, we can predict what you are able to do in the future. But relevance is your ability to affect the bottom line in the present. And I said, be a learner, not an expert. Okay? Learners transit. Learners are always learning. They are always changing. They are always shifting. Listen to this one. Where you are today is a function of what you did with what you learned yesterday. Therefore, where you are going to be tomorrow will be determined by what you do with what you are learning today. Allow me to say that again. Where you are today is a function of what you did with what you learned yesterday. Where you will be tomorrow is a function of what you are doing or what you do with what you are learning today. So the big question I want to ask you is this. Are you learning? Because if you are not learning, you are not growing. If you are not growing, it's only a matter of time you will lose relevance. So let me ask you again. Are you learning? So let me give you a hint at this point. If you are not doing things differently, you are not learning. The proof of learning is adjustment. If things are not changing, if the way you do things are not changing, then you are not learning. In other words, the information that is coming to you is not strong enough. You are not receiving relevant information to transform your behavior. Frequency may not be enough, or the information is not relevant. Okay, you've got to be challenged and you've got to be equipped to make changes in your life. That's what it means to learn. So once again, are you learning? Allow me to read to you, a verse of scripture, but I'm going to read it from two different translations of the Bible. And this speaks to me a lot. I enjoy reading this verse of scripture. Even when I meditate on it, it inspires me. Proverbs chapter 18 and verse 15. Proverbs chapter 18 and verse 15. I'm going to read it first from the New Living Translation of the Bible, and then I'm going to read it from the Message Bible. From the New Living Translation of the Bible, Proverbs 18 and verse 15 says, "Intelligent people are always ready to learn. Their ears are open for knowledge." This is important. Intelligent people are always ready to learn. Their ears are open to knowledge. The Message Bible says, "Wise men and women are always learning, always listening for fresh insights." Wise men and women are always learning, always listening for fresh insights. And so I came to the conclusion that you are not intelligent because of what you know, but because of your disposition to learning. You are not intelligent because of what you know, but because of your disposition to learning. Wise men and women are always learning. They are always listening for fresh insights. Okay, the old New Living Translation actually puts it this way: intelligent people are open to new ideas. In fact, they search for them. So if you are intelligent, we're going to see it in your disposition to learning. Okay, disposition to learning. I was thinking about this evening's presentation, and then I remember these 4 levels of learning that I had been introduced to so many years back. Okay, some other people also call it the conscious competence learning model. It was introduced by Noel Buck in the 1970s. All right, and there are 4 levels of learning. The first one is unconscious incompetence. Okay, unconscious incompetence, and that means I don't know what I don't know. And the first thing I'm going to say to you right now is, if you are going to continue to grow and continue to learn and continue to evolve and become a better version of yourself, you have to realize that at every point in time, there is something you don't know and it is costing you. There is something you don't know and it is costing you. Okay? If you can transit from that level of unconscious incompetence, in other words, I don't know what I don't know. So I'm not as competent, I'm not as effective, I'm not producing the kind of results I want to produce. My stakeholders are not happy with me, and I don't even know why. Because I am living in a state of ignorance. I don't know what I don't know. Okay? If you will transit from there, then you move to what is called conscious incompetence. And that is, I know what I don't know. Okay? By the time I'm done showing you, okay, those 4 levels or 4 stages of learning, then I'm going to explain how to transit effectively. All right. The next level is conscious incompetence. At this point now, I know what I don't know. For example, maybe let's assume you are in say finance, and there is a software, okay, that is needed to be effective in your field. Okay. Now you know there is a software and you know you don't know how to use it. Okay. So now you are making a plan to go and learn how to use that software. You have moved to what? Conscious incompetence. I am aware of what I don't know. If you transit from there, and I'm going to show you in a moment how to transit from there. If you transit from there, then you move to conscious competence. Okay. At this point, it is, I now know, okay, how to do it. Conscious competence. I now know how to do it. Let me go back to the illustration of the sportsman. So while Pep Guardiola was playing football, or Vincent Kompany or Mikel Arteta, okay, perhaps they had unconscious incompetence when it comes to being a coach. But somewhere along the line, These guys realized, I'm not going to be a footballer forever. I can't run around forever. I'm not going to be as fit forever. What am I going to transition into? Oh, I'm going to become a coach. Do I know how to coach? No. Okay, I don't know what I don't know. So you go after knowledge. That's how you transit to level number 2, conscious incompetence. Okay, now I know what I don't know. I don't know how to be an effective coach. So I begin to learn. If I learn and I practice the principles I'm exposed to, then I move to level number 3, conscious competence. I now know how to do it. Okay, we can say that a Mikel Arteta is at conscious competence. Okay, a Vincent Kompany now is at conscious competence. I now know how to do it, but I'm still doing it. I'm still doing it. I still have to be intentional about it. Just give me a moment. I'm going to be back to show you how to maximize each stage. If you continue practicing, then you transit to level number 4, unconscious competence. Unconscious competence. At that level, you are saying, I know how to do it without thinking. I know how to do it without thinking. Now, it is at that level that you are referred to as a master. Now, this is important. It is at that level you are referred to as an expert. But our teaching here says you be a learner and not an expert. So the moment you reach unconscious competence, okay, at anything, you need to position yourself as a learner and begin to say, what am I supposed to do in the next level? I don't know what I don't know. I don't know what I don't know. So let's go back. I'm going to begin to round it up right now. So let's go back and look at how to transition from one level of learning or competence to another. You see, at unconscious incompetence, at that stage of ignorance, what you need to be able to become aware of the things you need to know is humility and self-awareness. Humility and self-awareness. You need honest feedback from life and from stakeholders. See, when a person is not humble, they find it difficult to receive negative feedback. Now, this is what I'm trying to say. If you write an exam and you fail, you don't say, look at the result they gave me. When you are like that, you are still struggling with your self-awareness. You are struggling with self-esteem. It is not the result they gave me. It is the result I produced. If you are not able to look yourself in the face in the mirror and say, I failed that exam or I failed that interview, you are still going to remain in that level of unconscious incompetence. But the moment you say to yourself, I failed this exam, or I failed that interview, or I couldn't execute the project successfully, or I failed to deliver the presentation excellently, then you move toward conscious incompetence. Okay, but for you to move into conscious incompetence, you have to be humble, you have to be self-aware. You have to be humble, you have to be self-aware. Okay, you've got to be able to receive honest feedback from life and from credible stakeholders. When you attempt anything, you see, life is a mirror. What you give out is what it's going to return to you. If excellence flows out of you, excellence will flow back to you. If you throw out whatever it is you throw out and the feedback you get from life is average or is failure, that is trying to let you know there's something you need to know that you don't know. It takes humility and self-awareness to leave unconscious incompetence and to move into conscious incompetence. Okay, conscious incompetence. Now, to move from conscious incompetence to conscious competence requires learning and discipline. Okay, conscious competence says, I know how to do it. For you to know how to do it means you humbled yourself to learn it and then you practice it repeatedly. And that's where discipline comes in. Without humility, without discipline, learning will not take place successfully. I've heard people say practice makes perfect. No, practice makes permanent. If you keep doing it the wrong way, you will perfect how to do it the wrong way. So you have to be humble enough to learn how to do it the right way, and then with discipline, practice over and over and over again, doing it the right way. If you keep at it for long enough, you will transit from conscious competence to unconscious competence, where you know how to do it without thinking. A beautiful illustration that will seal it for all of us is driving. As I speak to you right now, there are people listening to me who don't know how to drive. And there are some people who don't even feel the need to learn how to drive. Maybe because your husband will drive and take you everywhere you want to go, or you always have a driver. Okay. But as far as driving is concerned, you are ignorant. You don't know how to drive. If your driver does not come to work, you are stuck. Okay. That's unconscious incompetence. Okay. When you get to that point where you say to yourself, oh, I need to learn how to drive. That is how you translate to what? Conscious incompetence. I don't know. I know what I don't know. I don't know how to drive. Then you start learning how to drive. You master the principles of driving, especially manual gear shift. You have to be aware. If you don't listen well to the engine, you don't know when to make transitions. Okay. If you don't make transitions at the right time, you will damage your clutch. Okay. For those of us who are very familiar with manual gear shifts, you understand what I'm saying. So you have to learn. And after learning, you have to practice. You know, for some people that are learning to drive, it's cumbersome. Somebody said, how can I change gear and depress the clutch and depress the accelerator, release the clutch gradually, and then I'm still looking at the road and I'm controlling the steering. It looks like 4 or 5 things at the same time, but it's only a matter of time. If you practice with discipline, after some time, you will be driving without thinking. You become a master at driving. I remember so many years ago, the song Alpha and Omega by, what's his name again now? Israel Houghton. When the song was, newly released, a friend of mine sent the song to me and I just got so wrapped up listening to the song. I left Maryland. For those of us that are familiar with mainland Lagos, I left Maryland and I was driving and I was just singing along. I got carried away, listening to the song. By the time I was conscious of my environment, I had gotten to Bagada. So if you know Lagos very well, that's a drive of about some 10 or 15 minutes without traffic. Okay. From Maryland to Bagada before I became aware. But see, I was leaving Maryland and I was going home, driving in my car on a route I had traveled severally. I was driving and I think it was a manual shift I was driving. I was not conscious, changing gear, looking at the road. It's because I had mastered driving. What I'm going to say to you, anything you do like that, look for somebody to delegate it to. If not, you'll be an expert and not a learner. Okay? You're an expert and not a learner. Anything you can do without thinking, it's fantastic. In that thing, you are an expert, but it is time for you to shift to something else at which you are a learner, because that is what guarantees growth. As I round up this evening, there are 3 keywords I want to leave with you. If you want to keep transiting, you want to keep evolving, you want to keep growing, there are 3 keywords I want to leave with you. The first one is humility. Humility. Humility is what guarantees growth, because humility engenders learning. Without humility, it's difficult to learn. Okay? So humility guarantees growth. Growth guarantees relevance. All right? Humility guarantees growth and growth guarantees relevance. The second keyword I want to leave with you is passion. I asked myself, why do people stop learning? Why do people find it difficult to learn? It dawned on me. People stop learning when it stops being fun. People stop learning when it stops being fun. Some of us listening to me, you remember when you started learning how to drive, it was fun. See, but if you drive for a living, it will you get tired of it. It's not fun anymore. Okay, so we don't learn further in anything that has stopped being fun. That's why you need to learn to tap into your passion. As you grow older, as you gain, mastery, as you become more competent, like I told you the last time, you will be allowed to choose your seat on the bus. You want to make sure that you devote your time to doing things that you are passionate about. Okay? Things that you are passionate about. Why am I saying that? Because passion will attract you and commit you. Now listen, passion is not enough. Let me give an example of what I'm saying. So somebody is passionate about singing. Okay, you see, passion will make you learn. Passion will make you train your voice. Passion will make you probably write a song. Passion will probably make you want to go to the studio to record. But the moment you start the process of recording song 1, song 2, or you want to produce an album, you will get to the point where passion will not be enough. You will now need discipline. But you see, what passion would have done is passion would have attracted you. Passion would have taken you to the place of commitment. I'm going to use another illustration even as I begin to round up. Okay. Passion will get you to the place of commitment. Now, discipline is what will put you over. So let me give you an example. Boy meets girl. Passion. Hey, I like you. You like me. Okay. It's a triangle. There is the meeting of the minds. Then there is, okay, the meeting of emotions, the soul. And before you know it, the guy proposes. We are still talking passion. The guy proposes, will you marry me? The lady says, yes, I will marry you. Still passion. And so they get married. All right. They begin to, have intimacy together. It's still passion. Passion gets them to the point where the lady gets pregnant. If you are married, if you have children, from the moment you get pregnant, passion has committed you. Parenting takes over, and parenting requires discipline. Okay? Parenting requires discipline. Now you have to save money. Now you can't sleep anytime you want to sleep. Now you have another human being, a whole human being you are taking care of. And in this part of the world, until the child is like 18 or 22, you are at work. So it's possible for you to be a fantastic husband and a terrible parent if you don't know how to move from passion to discipline. And that's why I am leaving you with these 3 keywords: humility, passion, and discipline. If you want to keep growing and evolving and becoming a better version of yourself, you want to make sure you are humble enough to learn, you are passionate enough to be committed, but you are disciplined enough to do what you have to do when you have to do it, so that you can get to where you were designed to get to. It's on that note that I'm going to wrap up tonight's session.